Hey everyone, welcome. So, what's the real difference between a good developer and a truly great senior level engineer? It's usually not about knowing some super obscure algorithm. Nope, it's about mastering the core concepts that make a system truly solid and correct. And today, we're going to dive deep into one of the big ones, manual validation.
Okay, let's jump right in. I'd bet you've seen code just like this 1,000 times. It's a simple range attribute, right? It's sitting on what we call a DTO, a data transfer object. And it looks totally harmless, doesn't it? But trust me, this is a classic trap. This right here is what I call a business logic leak.
And that just begs the question, right? If validating a user's age, which is clearly a business rule, doesn't belong here, then where on earth does it go? Well, that's the exact problem we're going to crack open and solve today.
So let's break down why that little attribute is what I call the validation trap. Look, it's a super common pattern, and let's be honest, we've all done it because it's just so easy. A lot of frameworks even kind of push you in this direction when you're starting out, but it sets you up for some serious headaches down the road.
Okay, here's the heart of the problem. That age range, it's not just about checking if a number is a number. It's a full-blown business rule, and business rules, they're messing. They change, they get more complicated, and pretty soon, they need to check something in a database. I mean, what if that age limit is different depending on the user's country? See, by putting that rule in your DTO, you've just chained your critical business logic to your UI or API layer. Big mistake.
And once you see that trap, you really can't unsee it. So how do we get out of it? How do we fix this? Well, we adopt what I like to call the senior level solution. And listen, this isn't about grabbing some new shiny library or a fancy framework. It's a fundamental shift in how you think about validation.
And that solution is manual validation. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You, the developer, you manually write the code that checks your business rules. But the most important part, the whole key to this, is where you write that code. It has to be inside your service layer or your domain layer, way, way away from those controllers and DTOs.
So why go through all this trouble? Because this is how you enforce real system integrity. Think about it. Your business rules often have to be checked against the live state of your system. Like checking, hey, is this username already taken? You can't do that from a simple DTO. You can only do that from the service layer, and that gives you total control. It's how you guarantee your business logic is truly solid.
Okay, so we know what we need to do. Now let's get super specific and pinpoint exactly where this critical logic is supposed to live inside a typical application. Nailing this part is absolutely key.
So let's just follow a request as it comes into our system. First, it's going to hit the controller. The controller does the basic stuff, the simple input validation, like, is this actually an email address? Then it passes the data on to the service layer. Now this is where the magic happens. This is where you perform your manual validation for all those important business rules. It's the gatekeeper. And only after all those rules pass do you ever touch your core domain, which is where your most fundamental business entities live. Really, the main thing to remember here is to think of your service layer as the system's decision layer. It's the bouncer at the door. It's the one that decides if a request is legit based on the business rules long before it ever gets a chance to mess with your data.
All right, knowing the theory is great, but putting it into practice and doing it well, that's what really separates the senior engineers from everyone else. So let's talk about how to actually write this stuff, the nuts and bolts.
Just look at the difference here. I mean, on the left, you've got this absolute nightmare of an if statement. Who even knows what that's checking? It's impossible to read, and it's going to be a pain to maintain. But on the right, a beautiful, clean, self-documenting method call. That's what we're aiming for. Code that isn't just working, but is actually a pleasure to read. So how do you get there? Follow these pro-level best practices. Number 1, use custom exceptions, something like a business exception so you can handle failures in a really clean way. 2, break out your validation logic into small, focused, private methods. Keep things tidy. 3, and this is a big one, keep this logic completely out of your controller. And finally, if your validation needs to hit a database or an API, you have to use async. Don't block your threads. And just as important as what to do is what not to do. So here are the common mistakes to avoid. First, obviously, putting business rules in your DTOs. We've covered that one. Another huge one is thinking a library like FluentValidation is a magic bullet for everything. Look, it's an amazing tool for complex input rules, but it is not a replacement for your core business and domain rules. And finally, please don't forget the really gnarly edge cases like concurrency issues or race conditions.
This table really shows how all the pieces fit together perfectly. These tools aren't competing with each other, they're on the same team. You use data annotations for the simple stuff, the basic format checks. You use a tool like FluentValidation for more complex input rules, like password strength. And then you use manual validation for the most important part, your core business rules. They complement each other, they don't replace each other.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. Imagine you're in a job interview, or maybe a design review with your team, and this topic comes up. You need that one perfect, concise, powerful way to explain this concept. Well, here it is. This is your gold standard answer.
Seriously, just burn this sentence into your brain. It's got everything. It tells them what you're doing, enforcing business rules. It tells them where you're doing it, at the service layer, and it tells them why, to ensure system integrity. It's just perfect.
And if anyone ever asks you, so what? What's the big deal? The answer, the biggest risk of getting this wrong, is letting an invalid business state creep into your system. We're talking about selling an item that's already out of stock, or letting a user who's been banned post a comment. That's the kind of disaster you're protecting your system from.
So, I'm going to leave you with a final thought to take back with you to your own projects. Right now, think about the applications you're working on. What critical business rule is out there right now hiding in a DTO attribute? Or maybe, even worse, not being checked at all? Go find it. Fixing that? That's your first real step to coding like a senior engineer.